o'clock this morning. It's a long day for them. They're from all across Canada and came to a very rainy welcome to St. John's yesterday. But they graciously stayed to do this presentation from 6:30 to 7:05 or so on their project, Vimy Flight, and then we'll get everyone upstairs to the concert. So, speaking today is Mr. Larry Ricker. Larry has been in love with flying since the age of 2. He completed an Air Cadet Flying Scholarship through 101 Squadron in Moncton, New Brunswick in 1972. Graduating from the University of New Brunswick with a degree in civil engineering in 1977, he joined Air Canada in April 1979 and joined the RCAF in 1981. He was promoted to captain with Air Canada in 1994 on the DC-9 and has flown as a training captain on the CL-65 Challenger, Airbus 320, and Boeing 767s. Larry is presently flying the Boeing 777 aircraft on worldwide routes. He now has a total flying time of over 20,000 hours and more than 50 types of aircraft. Larry is very honored and excited to have been included in the Vimy project under the banner A Nation Soars, and I will turn it over to him to tell you all about it. Thank you.
So we should turn it on, I guess, first.
It's on.
Is it on?
Test one.
Okay.
So what she's trying to say, guys, is I'm old. And I've flown a little bit, but actually this experience that we've been through, my wife Lucy, and all of the Vimy Flight team has been the experience of a lifetime. So we'll be really quick. I'm on a short leash. I want you guys to get good seats, but I also want you to hear what we're all about. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Maybe we'll close the door there a little bit. I think they're practicing. Thank you. So on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, when the guns fell silent, we will remember. And really, that really sums up what we're doing. We are Vimy Flight, and our mandate was to commemorate, celebrate, and share the stories of World War I and the brave men, children in many cases, that stepped forward on our behalf to give us the life that we have today. We partnered with an organization called Sound Venture, also with the Royal Canadian Geographic Society of Canada, who are associated with CPAC, and they have created 3 documentaries. One is Drawn to Victory, the second Wings of Courage, and the last one that was just released actually today, called The Flight Path of Heroes, was just shown earlier today. I'm sorry? Somebody say something? I didn't. Yeah. Vimy Ridge, there it is. Who here has been to Vimy Ridge? Could I see a show of hands? Let's keep this very informal, if that's okay. Is it okay just to be honest and open? Can you share your stories quickly? What were your feelings from being at Vimy?
Well, I thought it was magnificent to actually go there, because I came from Beaumont Hamel,
Right.
which is very intimate.
Right.
Sort of understated.
Right.
This magnificent Art Deco monument,
Yeah.
and it was quite overwhelming
To be in the presence.
on it,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when you actually went into the tunnels and you saw
You got to feel it.
the
Yeah.
feel of it and realize how important this monument is.
Right. What I discovered is that they didn't, when they built this, they actually hadn't decided where it was going to be. And so through the process, they figured out where it was going to be, and it's fascinating to be in its presence. The numbers speak for themselves. We went there and we were humbled. This is a picture of a fellow from Newfoundland that flew with the Royal Naval Air Service, a Newfoundlander, and they flew in Gallipoli. And this is a picture of the 3 aircraft in Gallipoli. Those are Newport, I believe they're Newport 11s. I don't know what that thing on the end is, but that is an actual picture from Gallipoli, and they're flying back north. Here's the Newport 11 in flight, just to give you an idea. And if you listen closely, you can hear the wind in the wires. Anybody here a motorcyclist? These airplanes are like a motorcycle with wings, to be very honest with you. This is the group that we started out with. This is in Comox, BC. We did a training camp last year, similar to the Snowbirds. We actually call ourselves the Slowbirds, and you'll see why. But the 10 pilots that we have are all current or past serving members of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Here we are in discussions, in briefings. Alan Snowy is our flight lead. We call him the skipper, and he's attempting to talk to fighter pilots about how to fly formation. We started with hello, come on in. We started out flying single ship formations, then we went to 2 ship, and then eventually we moved on to 3 ship. We practiced in Comox, BC, that's the control tower, and we practiced using the control tower as our target to replicate what we would be doing in Vimy Ridge. The tower controllers really enjoyed that. We'll give you an idea. You see this bottom slide here? That's us. They did not enlarge the, they didn't zoom it in. That's really us, and that's how close we were to the tower. So it was entertaining for them, and we worked our way up, and we were doing 3 ship formations. How do you get 7 small aircraft across the Atlantic Ocean, get them there easily and quickly? Well, you just put them in a bigger airplane. That is the Canadian Forces C-17 Globemaster. The commander of the Air Force, Mike Hood, is a personal friend of ours. We flew on squadron together. He was my backseater on the T-33. We presented the idea to him, and importantly, he did not say no. He is a patriot, obviously. He supported our mission, and we've had amazing support from the RCAF. That's what 7 airplanes in another airplane looks like. You ever opened up a can of sardines? Kind of looks like that, doesn't it? They fit in sideways, and all we had to do was take the rudders off, not because they wouldn't fit, but because it would allow a clear way, to walk back and forth in the aircraft. There is that beautiful aircraft that we took out of Comox last spring in late March. On the way through, they stopped in Gander, and then they ended up in Lille, France. This is a picture in Lille, France, early in the morning. You see people are moving around a lot. We took them off the airplane. It was windy. Has anybody ever heard of the cartoon series Asterix and Felix, I think it is? Obelix, yeah. Do you know who this guy is? He is the fellow who produces it, Regis. And he's an aviation adventurer and lover of aviation. And on this particular day, it was so windy that they actually had to hold the airplanes down as they were moving them from the C-17 into the hangars. So Regis is getting a very good blow dry with the wind. When we got the airplanes into the hangar and we got everything sorted out, our skipper, Alan Snowy, was the first guy to overfly Vimy. He did it on his own, which was very appropriate. Regis was actually flying beside him to take that picture. And there he is, realizing a dream come true, crossing over the Vimy Monument after years and years of planning. He came back to the Lens Airport, and there are all the volunteers that were working with Regis to greet him as he did his first pass over the Lens Airport, which is right next to Arras, if you know, in France, just a few miles away from Vimy Ridge. Here are the team of 10 pilots, RCAF, ex-RCAF pilots. We have one currently serving RCAF pilot in here, but I'm not sure if he's there. Brent Handy. I'll show him to you.
These aircraft were designed only 13 years after the Wright brothers first flew. The average lifespan of a pilot might be in the order of 3 weeks.
I'm not quite sure how we got men to volunteer to go out into these rickety contraptions, told to fly over enemy lines while you're shot at from the ground and from the air. Blows my mind.
And this is where you have the evolution of the so-called dogfight. They were killing machines, really.
A reconnaissance pilot, on the other hand, is just as important, if not more so. You've got to find it, and then you've got to head it. You need the aerial reconnaissance and the map points to know where they are so you can take them out.
Maps are really a weapon of war.
If the maps are incorrect, soldiers will die.
If you were to take the top 10 scoring aces of any country, 4 were Canadian.
I am standing on the shoulders of giants.
If you are interested in watching these videos, you can watch them at your own leisure, at your home. Just go to CPAC, which is one of the stations that you have on your television, and type in A Nation Soars. There are 3 parts to it, and the last one that was just released today is Flight Path of Heroes. So here is the statue with the moose with its head in the air. Caribou, sorry, caribou. Thank you for that. That's a big faux pas, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, we have moose in New Brunswick, but we have caribou here. There you go. And he has his head in the air defiantly, and this is at Beaumont Hamel, and it's an amazing statue. We decided that we wanted to celebrate that event, and we actually flew over Beaumont Hamel 2 days after we flew over Vimy Ridge. We have a series here that we're going to show you momentarily. Would you like to fly with us? All right. There's an aerial picture of Beaumont Hamel, and let's see if we can roll the footage. I'll try pushing this. Here we go. This is the cemetery at Notre Dame de Lorette. They have over 40,000 French troops that are buried here that fought in the battle to take Vimy Ridge 2 years earlier. Every day we would fly around and do a pass, do a complete circle around this cemetery to pay homage to the brave French troops. children right here. Here's the monument over here. And you can see all of the trench lines. The aerial reconnaissance that developed during the First World War made a difference, made a huge difference in our ability to win. As well, the aircraft added a lot. We're able to see, we're able to see the enemy trenches and map our own and work out a plan of attack. We learned the creeping barrage, rolling barrage, that slowly moved forward the artillery attack, and rather than rushing over the top with bayonets fixed, they learned a way to do what they call the Vimy slide, where they move ahead slowly, not too fast to get in the way of our own artillery. But at the same time, it kept the enemy off guard. This is the original dedication of the Vimy Memorial in 1936. And those are aircraft from the French and British Air Force that flew during the time that King Edward VIII did his one and only dedication outside of the UK. So we approached the day of we're going to fly over Vimy Ridge. The aircraft are very light. There I am lifting the tail, moving things around. We had practiced our formation. We had several practice sessions. There's an example of our formation. And on the day of Vimy Ridge, we were holding out over this burnt out church. You can see the cornflower here that's on the ground. That signifies, it's very similar to our Canadian poppy to signify the battles in World War I. We held out over this point for about 20 minutes, and then we were cleared in to do the fly pass over Vimy Ridge. Here we are on the way in. You can see our shadows on the ground. We had a 3-ship up front, Vic formation. We had 2 other aircraft in the back in standard echelon, and you can see the huge crowd. There was 25,000 people here. Our plan was basically to fly in, go out over the valley, come back over the high ground here, high trees, and then back down and out, so 270 and out. This is the camera that was taken from the lead aircraft, pictures taken from the lead aircraft. This is Peter Thornton here. This is myself in the aircraft that is outside here. And then the 2 other aircraft, the skipper is in the 5th aircraft, Brent Handy is in number 4. Here we are. See the pock marks that are still there as they are in many battlefields. We're now powering up because we just have to start climbing to get over the terrain up to the north. It was a perfect day, 23 degrees Celsius, light winds, and it was the best day of the entire month that we were in France. The timing could not have been better. We're circling around now and coming back over the ridge. The new regulations that are in effect don't allow us to fly over the crowds, whereas in 1936 they didn't care. One thing that you can see is as we approach here, you're going to see some of the trench positions. Actually, I think they're right coming up here. You'll see them. There they are right there. It was a beautiful day, as I mentioned, and a lot of red and white jackets of the Canadians. So what we wanted to replicate was the 1936 aircraft formations, and there we are there. So it worked out very well. There we are after the flight, and then we flew across lands on the last day that we were there, and everyone waved goodbye, and then we were on to the second part of our adventure. What we wanted to do is we wanted to take the emotions and the lessons and all of the information that we had from flying over Vimy Ridge. We wanted to bring Vimy home to Canada. So that was the next phase. We arrived in Greenwood, Nova Scotia on April 21st, and this is us getting unloaded from the C-17. We were getting better at it, and we were quite a bit faster unloading the aircraft than it took to load it. We moved on, and here are the spots in Canada that we flew to. We flew all through the Maritimes. Here's some examples. We were in Greenwood, Nova Scotia. You see Dan behind here. He's running the audiovisual today. He's an aircraft maintenance engineer. He knew our flight lead over Vimy, Dale Earhart, from the Air Force. They had worked in the Air Force 40 years earlier. Dale called Dan and right out of the blue and said, "Hey, how's things going? What's been happening for the last 40 years?" And he managed to secure some accommodations for us. Anybody ever couch surfed before? You know what couch surfing is? Yeah, well, that's what we did. And we showed up on Dan's doorstep. Dale didn't even show up at that point. And there we were, complete strangers, and Dan accepted us. The reason that we were able to complete the cross-Canada tour was Dan was there to help us along the way. So you see some of the pictures. We're flying over the bridge in Confederation Bridge between Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick. Had a lot of great stops in the Maritimes. We moved on to Ottawa, where we flew over Parliament Hill on July the 2nd. It's interesting here, you see 100 years of aviation in one shot. We were the lead aircraft. The aircraft that's outside here was the lead. That was the 100 years ago, that was the top line fighter. Today, here's the top line fighter for Canada. We went on to Ontario, where we spent most of July, had some amazing visits with real large crowds, a lot of great stories that we heard from people. Went on to Winnipeg, went through Saskatchewan, ended up in Calgary, and then we had to put the aircraft in a truck trailer to take them through the Rocky Mountains because these aircraft just don't fly high enough. We ended up in Victoria about 3 weeks ago. This is our Air Force mess dinner. We cleaned up pretty well. And what's great is that we've got a great group of people who have been very integrally important to the success of Vimy Flight. I'd like to draw attention to our flight skipper, Alan Snowy. Alan, would you just give a wave there? Give him a round of applause, please. He's done a great job. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Bernada Billick and my wife Lucy. Can you guys stand up for a moment and just give them a round of applause? Important safety tip, guys, if you ever want to do a challenging project, make sure there's really good women involved because it makes the difference between success and failure. Here is our thank you list. The Canadian government is coming through for us to some degree. Veterans Affairs Canada have approved a grant for us. However, we have not seen a single dime, and this is our last event. So how have we done this? Through fortitude and positive thinking, we are selling swag. Does anybody know what swag is? Swag is t-shirts like I have on and Lucy and Bernada. We sell hats, we have them outside, and we also sell posters, we sell patches. If you're interested in supporting us, that would really be amazing if you would consider taking one of them. The money goes to buying fuel so that we can leave town. I never really know whether people are buying so that we have enough money to get out of town or they really want to support us. Beyond that, we've had amazing support from Chevrolet, and there's a local dealer. I believe there's Hickman Motors. Is anyone aware of that? Yeah, Bert Hickman, I believe it is. He has been amazing here in Newfoundland. Through his efforts, we received a Chevrolet Traverse SUV that we've used all across Canada. And one of the conditions that he said is, he said, if you can at all, please come to Newfoundland. And here we are. Day and Ross have really, yes, please give him a round of applause. Day and Ross have been fantastic for us. They have given us their transportation costs, the trucking costs across the country at their costs as compared to adding, to it, which is fantastic. Air Canada has helped, Easton's Transport, Air Canada Pilots Association, Boeing, and EF Educational Tours. And we have been working with the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, and they're actually bringing in full-scale maps within the next day, I believe, Angela? Sunday, that people can come out and see battlefield maps of Vimy Ridge and France and Beaumont Hamel. So that is our presentation. I want to thank you very much for your time, and enjoy this show this evening.
Alright, just a reminder, the Vimy Flight team is back Sunday with a few more presentations, and as they mentioned, the giant floor maps, which are going to be interesting to see. So I'd like to thank Mr. Larry Ricker and Alan Snowy, who came, and the rest of the Vimy Flight team today for their very long day and all their work. Thank you for showing up, and if you have tickets to the concert, we are taking them upstairs on level 3. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.